Hurts takes the snap. He's back. He's going to run. He's in! Touchdown! Jalen Hurts! The Eagles are just devouring the Giants. And it is A.J. Brown again! Another touchdown!
Welcome back to the Linc Lineup Draft Show. It's been a hot minute since we've done one of these things, and we've been slacking, but you know it happens. But draft season is here. The draft is, I believe, in 19 days, if I'm not mistaken. My math might be wrong. But regardless, it's here in a couple weeks. And we have our running back show today. You know, this one's gonna be a little different. We're only doing 5 players, since if you look at any website with rankings, you'll see that the top 10 is different. It's different. All of them will be different. There's no consensus number 1. There's no consensus number 2. But it seems like there is a consensus top 10. But they're all
fair. I think in our opinions, I think we can agree on this is definitely not the best running back class to ever come out.
It is not. It is not. It's funny because usually this time of the year, us Eagles fans are, we're dialed in on running backs because we haven't had a solid, good running back since LaShawn McCoy until we signed Saquon. So we're not really paying attention. There might be a player here and there that we could add, just to get Kenneth Gainwell off the field. We're high on him, so that will probably not happen. But we're doing top 5 running backs. So I guess we'll start with number 5. Number 5 for us will be Blake Corum. From Michigan. You obviously probably watched them because they did win the championship last year. Let me look at his combine stuff. Did he participate in the combine? I can't remember.
Yeah,
he did. Ran a 4.5, 340, had a 4.12 shuttle, and he had a 1.58 10-yard split. So he's athletic because he had to be at the running back position. But what more can you tell us about Blake Corum?
So with Blake Corum, I believe he's been there all 4 years, I believe. I think he decided to skip out on the draft last year and go back to school. Smaller guy, kind of like a compact. He's got a real compacted body. With Blake, he's kind of a hard runner for how small he is. He doesn't really initiate contact, but he can absorb it pretty well. He's got good balance. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. But I think that a lot of thing that draws a lot of attention to Blake Corum is the team and the scheme that he was playing in, it's kind of the knock that J.J. McCarthy had. JJ, his knock was like he's not coming from a very pro style offense anymore. Maybe back in the day, 15 years ago, coming from that type of offense, JJ McCarthy might be the number 1 pick just because they run the ball so much at Michigan. They're more of a run the ball down your throat, grind type of team, which kind of helps Blake Corum out. You saw a lot of production from him. I like Blake Corum. He's a good player. In my eyes, he seems like he would be more of a late day 2, early day 3 guy. If the Eagles would like to look at him in the later round, I wouldn't never mind it. But I like Blake Corum a lot.
Yeah, I think he has one of the higher ceilings in this running back class. As you mentioned, he's 5'8", 205. So he's not the biggest guy, but he is definitely he's a gym rat. He he did 30 reps at 225, so he's stout.
He's strong.
And so he's like I said, he's very athletic. He's a fit guy. Um, he's he has both power and quickness. That's something that you would like to see in the NFL level. He has that. Um, Definitely can put him in any scheme, um, and he'll fit right in. There's a couple things you don't like about him though. It's mainly pass protection. He's not great in it. Which nowadays it seems like most running backs coming into the league just aren't great at pass protection. Um, so
To
they'll
be fair, like how small he is, you would never expect him to be really good at pass protection.
um, so there's that. He had a season-ending injury in 2022.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's always going to have a little red flag. Some injuries happen, so you don't really want to knock him too. Um, but he for a smaller guy, he plays bigger than what he actually is. And he's a guy. If we didn't have Saquon, I would love to have him on the team. Um, but chances are he probably won't be there at a time we would pick a running back. But if you're out there, you're listening to this, and you stumble across this show after the draft has happened, just know that in my opinion, you have a great player that has a chance to really be something special in the NFL.
Yep.
And so that's where I'm at with him. Um,
Hmm.
so you can't go wrong with this pick. He is a little older. He is 23, whereas most studs will come into the league at like 21. Uh, so if you're worried about the whole, you know, running back long longevity thing, you have that to worry about. But other than that, can't go wrong. Um, Anything else you'd like to add before we move on to our number 4 guy?
No, I think we covered it pretty well with Blake. Like Chase said, um, if you're a team out there that's in the market for a running back, Blake is definitely not a guy that you should worry about. Um, I think he, I think he is going to be a pretty damn good player at the next level. He kind of fits the NFL, the mold of running backs nowadays.
Yeah. Um, Now we just talked about Blake Corum being a smaller guy. Number 4, we have a bigger guy at 6'1", 235. We got Braylon Allen from Wisconsin.
The
This
complete opposite of
yeah,
Blake
this
Corum.
this honestly just might be us being Eagles fans and maybe overrating him a little bit, maybe just because we don't have that big you know big running back. This guy is definitely that. Um, did he? I can't remember if he participated in the combine.
No,
He did not. Um,
he
so
did. I think he competed in his. I think he participated in his pro day though.
let's see. This has he did go to the combine. He didn't do a 40, but he ran a 4.4. It's been recorded that he ran a 4.4. He has a 32 inch vertical. He
Curious what his bench press was.
26. Um,
Really?
yeah. So he's strong too, but some people are just gym strong, and that's what Blake Corum was. But
To be fair, I think maybe Blake Corum's wingspan's a little bit. His arms are a little bit shorter, which gives you an advantage on bench press. But that's neither here nor there.
yeah, but Braylon Allen, he is he's going to be that big back that you would like to see. Um, he he loves contact, and you'll see it whenever he plays. Doesn't shy away from it. He'll break tackles, which if
He's definitely the type of running back you do not want to see later in the year in the playoffs if you're playing in a cold environment.
yeah, definitely he has size and strength. He has some agility. It will need to be worked on. Um, Obviously, you like to see him get a little bit better there because at the NFL level, you're going to have to, be patient. You just can't run into holes. sometimes you have to make a secondary read based on how the defense reacts. But I mean, there's nobody that I think wants to tackle him when it gets cold, like you said. And even whenever it's not cold, I don't think you want to try to go tackle him. So um, he lacks the receiving capabilities that you would like to see out of running backs nowadays. And he's not the greatest pass protector in the world. But if you want a big, strong running back that will keep on moving his legs at contact, and will just have, lighter DBs just bounce off of him at that contact, this is your guy.
Yep.
But that's all. That's all from me.
Yeah. Braylon, he's another one. I'm telling you what, man, Wisconsin for some reason is just prone to churning out running backs. um, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, um, and now Braylon Allen. They've put together a pretty good. They can put a feather in their cap when it comes to running backs. Uh, I like Braylon a lot. Like you said, Chase, us as Eagles fans, we're not really used to having a bigger back, which to be fair, Saquon is about 6 foot 225 now. He's a bigger guy. But I think Braylon Allen is kind of it's a different type of bigger back. He's more in your like Derrick Henry mold of running backs, which I think Derrick Henry is like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. He's a little bit taller, but they kind of have the same similar play style, which to be fair, I think Braylon might be a little bit quicker than Derrick Henry was when he was coming out of college. The one thing that the one negative that sticks out on tape when it comes to Braylon, he does not have the best lateral quickness, uh, really at all. He's not much of a jump cut or juke kind of person, whether that be he can't do it or he just chooses not to, and he chooses to initiate contact. Which, if you watch the tape, you see that he likes to run through people, not really around them. And he's broken off some longer touchdowns in his career in college, which kind of shows that he has the quickness to do so, which is nice to see to outrun maybe a secondary guy. Um, but if anybody, like Chase said, is looking for a bruiser back, I'd love Braylon in Philly. Uh, it would kind of help shy away from the tush push probably if you get close to shorter yardages. Which to be fair, Saquon could probably do that as well. But keeping Jalen fresh and keeping him away from scenarios where he could get hurt is more the ideal thing. And I think Braylon Allen would work really, really well behind our offensive line.
Like I said, if we didn't have Saquon, I would love him. I would love any of these guys, to be honest with you. But just having Braylon Allen, the type of guy that I feel like we haven't had since LeGarrette Blount, be nice to have. Be nice to have.
Yep.
I think Braylon's pretty. He's significantly bigger than I think LeGarrette Blount is, as far as like height. Probably a little bit weight too. Next up, got a guy from Oregon. We got Bucky Irving. He ran a 4.55 at the combine, which about average.
Seems a little bit slower than what I anticipated him to run.
Yeah, and for people that are just looking at numbers, game speed and track speed, if you want to call it that, are two totally
Straight
different
line
things.
speed.
Yeah, it's just some people just don't test well, and some people play a lot quicker than they get tested. A good example is, I forgot what the drill's called. The wide receivers run that straight line. And they catch.
Oh, the gauntlet.
Yeah. They were showing on the combine that, hey, this guy ran a 4, whatever it was, but he's playing at like a 4.
I know who you're talking about. Keon Coleman.
Oh yes.
Keon Coleman was like the best example of that. Keon Coleman had a terrible 40 time, but if you looked at his gauntlet time, it was by far the best one of I think of any of the receivers. He was running. I can't remember. He was clocked at like 22 something, like 22.3 miles an hour through the gauntlet. Uh, that's moving. If anybody doesn't know, that's moving. But he ran like it's like a 4.6 or like a 4.8 or something in his 40. And some people just test better in game situations than they do any kind of like physical testing.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at his numbers from like here's his measurables, he's 5'9". That's small. He's 192. That's smaller. Doesn't have big hands. Doesn't have long arms. He didn't test fast like we mentioned. His vertical was 29 and a half, which is the bottom, I think 5%. Broad jump wasn't great, and his bench press he only put up 15. But
Just not good testing at all.
not good. It'll knock him down probably in the draft. But you wouldn't think of this stuff because the way he plays. If you've ever watched him play, you can see his elite speed. You can see his how quick he is to get to that top speed. Um, and he's going to be a player. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. As long as he's in the right system, I think he has a shot to be very successful.
Yeah.
Um, and he's kind of like that multi-purpose running back that you can line up in a slot. I know if there's a lot of players that get that, oh, he can play in the slot and they never actually play him. You can put him in the slot and he'll be fine. He has soft hands. He's great as a receiving threat. He's great getting the ball to him behind in the backfield.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with him as far as like that aspect. But obviously, if you're paying attention to what we're saying, he's smaller. Pass protection is not going to be great. He's not going to break a lot of tackles. He's going to bounce it to the outside quite a bit to avoid, getting brought down at the line of scrimmage. And then you're never really going to see him fall forward. It's just what it is when you got this guy.
Mhm.
But this guy has home run abilities,
Yeah.
and there's always a chance anytime he gets the ball that it's going to be a big play.
See, I don't. Maybe you might agree to this, but like him and our top two guys, and I'll throw an honorable mention in there that we're not going to talk about because he was later on down our list. But Marshawn Lloyd, you throw him in there with our top three guys. I think those four guys right there might be like the most pro style running backs probably in this draft when it comes to receiving and just being able to fit in probably any system that they can play in. When I watch Bucky Irvin's tape, he's coming from Oregon, which is a very pro style, aired out kind of not really grind you down, but more of an air raid kind of offense to the point of like they want big plays. Like that's what they base their base their football on is big plays. If you turn this tape on, he's got really good lateral quickness, really good agility. But like Chase is saying, he didn't test well. But like if you turn his tape on, it's a complete different player from his measurables. Some people just are gamers. That's just the best way to put it. And I think Bucky Irvin is a massive gamer.
He definitely is. So this is one of those things where you can't let the combine numbers take you away from the player, especially whenever the tape says otherwise. So sometimes you just wake up and you're not feeling the greatest, and that might have been the day that he woke up and it felt like that. So um, he'll fall a little bit more than what he was initially projected at, but I think that's a mistake. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands and what system he lands in. But next we have Trey Benson. This guy arguably rose the most in this class due to his 40 time. He ran a 4.3, which is for running back is fast, especially because you want running backs to be kind of big, powerful, and fast. And he has the speed. Straight from Florida State, he is what is he? 6 foot, 218, 216. So he's a big guy. Bench 23. Vertical is 33.5 inches, which is cool. Nothing to write home about. But what else do you have about Trey Benson?
I like Trey a lot. If you would have asked me this question, maybe a couple months ago, since our number one got hurt, and Trey has been ultimately kind of rising his draft stock ever since the season ended. I may have moved him up into number one, but Trey is if you ever turn his tape on, he's got really good balance. Like his balance after contact. If you ever watched Alvin Kamara run the football and take a hit and watch his feet, like his footwork after he takes a hit, it kind of reminds me of Trey, or Trey kind of reminds me of that. He is he's a decently good pass catcher for how big he is out of the backfield. I like he's coming from a school that had a really good offense, and he was one of the focal points of that offense last year. Like Chase said, there's not a lot of good pass protectors in this draft, in this running back class. He's another one of them that's kind of meh. But at the same time, he makes up a lot for his ability of being able to make plays. He runs in between the tackles really well. He doesn't bounce a lot outside, and he has really good breakaway speed. You've seen it with the 4.3, but I don't know. I like Trey Benson a lot.
Yeah. He's definitely one of those big, fast, strong backs, and has the potential to be like Pro Bowl type player if he's in the right system, and most importantly, he stays healthy. He had a pretty nasty knee injury where he tore his ACL, his MCO, his meniscus, lateral meniscus, medial meniscus. So that's a lot of stuff in that knee. I don't know what knee it was, but pretty bad injury. Definitely tough to look at. Will be a red flag, for sure. But he's good. He's good. But there are some negatives though. Is he's not the greatest when it comes to route running. He has the ability to catch the ball, but he's not somebody that you're gonna be like, oh man, let's get him the ball out in the open, like a Texas
Right.
route or something like that. You're not gonna do that. And he does. You watch his tape. Sometimes he will try to hit somebody whenever there's a different route to go. So he's going to take a lot of hits. So you worry about that. But like we said, he's fast. He can be that home run guy once he gets out in the open field. He's not going to change directions too great. It's just not his game. He has straight line speed. He has strength. He doesn't have the agility that you would like to see. But other than that, he's great. He's great. Super aggressive runner. Feet don't stop. Will fall forward. Will get you the extra 1-2 yards whenever you think he's down. That's just the type of player he is, and teams would be lucky to have him. I would be interested in him for the Eagles, but we've already set our situation 4 other times. So if you're watching, like I said, if you're listening to this after the draft, you got a good player. While he stays healthy. And most importantly, with all these rookies coming in, they have to be in the right system with a coach that wants to develop them and puts them in the best spot possible.
Right.
So I would definitely be interested in Trey Benson. But before we get to number one, we're going to take a small break. Just hear a word from one of our sponsors, Bet Online. We'll be back after this.
Bring the Vegas gaming experience to the palm of your hand. Bet your favorite team, try your luck in the casino, or our poker room. The earliest sports lines and the biggest limits online. Lots of deposit options. Bet on live events as they happen. The next play, the next score. Get winnings fast or roll them into a parlay and win even more. Visit BetOnline today and see what millions of customers have experienced for over 20 years.
And we're back. Thank you to BetOnline for working with us. We will leave a link to their website in the description. Check them out. Check them out, especially if you like gambling. They have anything and everything. And right now they have a great welcome bonus. Check them out and win some money like I do. Unless you're Shohei, don't come here. Don't do it. Do not click on that link.
Please don't.
All right. Now we move on to our number one. His name is Jonathan Brooks from Texas. I believe he didn't. He wasn't participating in the combine. What can you tell me about Jonathan Brooks?
Bigger back, bigger guy, I think. Pretty sure. See, I wasn't able to watch a lot of the tape of Jonathan Brooks. But what I do know about him, he's kind of the all-around back of this draft class. I know that he is a really solid receiver. Kind of initiates contact as well. One of the backs that can run through you. And he's got good speed, good game speed, I know for a fact. Watching some of the Texas games, to me, he's the most, like I said, the most all-around, like pro-ready back out of all of them. Maybe you can hit on a little bit more of the details about him.
Yeah, I think whenever you look at him, he played behind Bijan and Roshan Johnson. So this was his year where he stepped into that starting role. He's decent. I wouldn't say decent. He's good as a receiver. So you have that. He has great agility and vision. So like I said, with I can't remember who it was. Was it Braylon? Was it Braylon? Braylon Allen. Basically, secondary, the read and react to defense. He has it. Like you mentioned, he has all the tools necessary to be like that every down back. He's great whenever he gets hit. He has great balance. He has the agility to be very elusive. He's one of the most elusive backs in college football last year. So you like that. You like that a lot. I believe he had a bad injury, didn't
he? Yeah. Messed up his knee or his leg or one of the two. I mean, can't remember.
I'm trying to find it because I swear he had a.
Yeah, because I think that's the reason he didn't participate in anything. He was still recovering from his injury.
But really the only downside to him is he does try, instead of taking like the easy 3-4 yard gain, he will try to make every play a home run. And that's something you don't hate. You take it how it comes. You accept it as the player, but as a team and a fan base, you got to expect some negatives to happen. And sometimes the negatives will outweigh the positive, but then next thing you know, he's taking what looked like a 2-yard run and he's turned it to an 80-yard touchdown run just because that's who he is. He definitely is still, in my opinion, a little more raw than some of the prospects that are coming in. But yeah. He's everything you need to be a top level type running back. But like we mentioned before, this draft class running backs just isn't like, there's no Bijan, there's no Saquon, there's no Like there's not a Christian McCaffrey this draft. Who was the big guys in the previous drafts that
Bijan.
okay,
Bijan was the
Jameer
consensus.
Gibbs.
Yeah.
There's not somebody that's like you got to have them. That's my guy. They're all people that have high upside, but they also can just be a guy, just a
Mhm.
guy, and that's the risk you take with these guys. But like I said, there's also a chance that you hit a home run with these guys. Um, and of course, everywhere you go, whether you're listening after draft or you're listening before, you're going to get a different ranking. Um, I mean, me and Bryce put these lists together, but we didn't have the same five. We just we talked ourselves into, you know, changing it around because we wanted a consensus one instead of going back and forth.
Right.
So you're never going to get the same five. I promise you
Yeah.
that.
And I couldn't tell you who's going to be the first running back to go off the board.
It
I
could,
mean, anybody in this, like the top 10 could be the first one.
yeah, it could go any way really. But the draft is going to be exciting. I'm excited to cover it. It'll be fun. I know I'm excited. I'm excited more this year than I have in the past because now I know these guys. And I feel like I can give a decent opinion on if it's a good pick or a bad pick. Whereas in previous years, I've really focused on who the Eagles would pick, and then they'll pick somebody random to me, and it ends up being a guy that scouts and draft people actually love, and then I find out later. But my reaction during the draft is, "Who is this guy?" Um, but
Yeah.
I don't think
Last
anybody.
last year we was pretty excited for the Jalen
Yeah,
Carter one.
Jalen Carter and Nolan. I was excited for, but we'll see what happens this year, especially with the Eagles, and then with everybody else. I'm curious to see how the top 10 unfolds. How many quarterbacks go off the board, which wide receivers will fall, and who the first running back and linebacker off the board is going to be. Because once they get picked, I think it's going to be a free. It's going to be like just a free for all. Who's ever
Yeah.
gets there. Um, it'll be interesting though. But kind of to give some honorable mentions. I know you mentioned Marshawn Lloyd. I'm going to mention Jalen Wright from Tennessee. I know you like Audric Estime.
Yep.
And then I'm going to give a shout out to Ray Davis as well. Like I said, top 10, you can put them, in all honesty, you can put them in any order. Somebody's going to argue with you about it. They're going to say,
Right.
well, I have Buddy at 3. Well, we have him at 8. And then somebody else has him at 10. Somebody has him at 15.
Right.
That's just how it is. It's just how it is. But any last words before we wrap up this show?
I'm excited. I'm excited for this year's draft. I think there's a lot of this is one of the more deeper draft classes in almost any position you really look at. I'm I'm excited to see on how kind of the top 15 unfolds. The top 15 picks kind of tell you where and how this draft is going to go, I think, this year. Because there's just so many good players that like the top 15 picks, once those are run through, there's going to be players that are still on the board that could probably be top 5 picks in any other draft. I just think that's how talent enriched this draft is.
Definitely. I think next we're going to have to end up pulling double duty the 2 episodes back to back to kind of catch up. I think next we will do edge rushers. Thinking if we should do offensive tackles. That's what we'll probably end up doing that. We'll do offensive tackles and edge rushers. That'd be fun because if you're an Eagles fan, we're definitely probably going to pick one of them.
Yeah.
In the early rounds, if not both. If you're a fan of another team, chances are your team's looking at them too. This is a pretty good draft for offensive tackles. So they'll probably be flying off the board rather quickly. And then there are some very good edge rushers. There are some that, may fall. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Listening on your streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon. Like us, subscribe to us, follow us, whatever it is on that particular streaming service. Leave us a review if you can. 5 stars only, please. If it's a 4, just leave it alone. Don't touch it. And just act like it never happened. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend if you enjoy the show. Thank you guys for the support. As always, follow us on all socials at the Linc Lineup. Follow Bryce on X at I am Bryce Haynes. Follow me at Chase at Cardiac Chase. Follow Josh at the Pre2. And, until next time, as always, go Birds.
Go Birds.